Welcome to The Marinade, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. Each episode, we welcome musicians, actors, comedians, authors, visual artists, filmmakers, anyone who creates art, to talk about how and why we make stuff. This is a bonus episode. I am going to go through the best live shows that I saw this year. These aren't in any particular order. I just wanted to talk about a few of them. If this is well received, I might do a few more. I consumed so much live music in 2024. I'm releasing this at the beginning of 2025. 2024 was one of the hardest years of my life personally, and as a coping mechanism, I really leaned into consuming records, going to see live music, supporting my friends, supporting artists that I love. And as a result, I just have so much to say. I kind of have this rule that I sometimes live by and sometimes don't, which is always go to the show. I look back on my life and I've been really fortunate. I'm a middle school teacher by day. I've been a public school teacher for 15 years. I like my job a lot. I'm grateful for it. And I have lots of wonderful memories. But I never, ever have gone to a show, gone to work the next day a little tired, and regretted that I went to the show. I can't think of a single time. So sometimes I don't have it in me, right? Sometimes I just don't. But for the most part, what I've learned is like spend the money on the show, go to it, even if it's a weeknight. So here are the shows that really blew my mind this year. And like I said, if y'all dig this, I can do more because I saw so much great live music this year. I want to start with one of the more recent shows that I saw. American Aquarium at the Abbey in Orlando, here in Orlando, Florida, where I live, on December 3rd, 2024. It was a weeknight. The venue is kind of an underrated, underappreciated venue that is doing some pretty cool things these days. I had planned on going to the show for, months. American Aquarium is one of my favorite bands. BJ Barham of American Aquarium has been really good to the Marinade and to me. We've gotten to know each other a little bit over the years in this capacity. And when he saw that I was going to be there, he said, "Hey, you want to do another episode of The Marinade?" And I was like, fuck yeah. I was just going to go as a fan, but I'm not going to turn BJ down ever. He can come on my show every week if he wants to. And man, it was cool. Jordan Foley, my dear friend and podcast collaborator on Life's Greatest Hits podcast, this wonderful songwriter, came out and filmed the experience and made some really cool videos for me. BJ is like such a rock star who doesn't seem to be trying to be. He's just sort of... there's all these kind of cool moments from that experience. Like, when we met up, I told him we were going to be on camera, and he was wearing what the kids call slides. I call flip-flops, NC State flip-flops, an NC State hoodie, and basically pajama pants. And he still looked cool as fuck. He wasn't making any effort, but he's just always been so down to earth with me and so cool. And I think that's just kind of who he is. He's very open. He's very honest. He recognizes that he hasn't always been that cool, and that there was a time in his life when, in his words, he, quote, was a shitty person. I've never met that guy. I met him after he stopped drinking. He's been nothing but kind and cool to me. And y'all, that show, I've seen American Aquarium a dozen times, I guess, at this point. Either American Aquarium or BJ Solo, I guess, if you counted those up. Probably a dozen times, maybe more. And this was easily my favorite. There were so many... We have this great little Americana community here, great creative community here in Orlando that I don't think people understand, this indie creative community. And there's a whole lot of songwriters and players and in the Americana world. And we were all there that night. we were all hanging out. It felt so good to see my buddies and experience this band that I love so much with all my friends. I connected with a few new people that night. Couldn't walk 5 feet without seeing somebody that I know and appreciate. So special night, and the boys just fucking brought it down, y'all. So that's American Aquarium at the Abbey, December 3rd. In October, I emptied my wallet and kind of last minute flew to Nashville and saw Jason Isbell in the 400 unit at the Ryman. I've been wanting to do that October Ryman run for years. Y'all, I will be back every year. I will do whatever I need to do. I flew in one night and out the next. That's how much I wanted to go to this show. Great friends were with me. My dear friends Tommy and Lauren were up there visiting our friend Ashley, whose podcast you should check out, Smash the Algorithm with Ash Carey. I'm going to see her tomorrow as I'm recording this, actually. I'm going to go spend a week with her. It was a special night, y'all. There was a guy sitting next to us, to me and Ashley, who was at this was his third concert ever. Jason Isbell in the 400 unit at the Ryman. He was really sweet. He was from East Tennessee. He became a part of the show for us, He was like, I don't mean that he was performing. I just mean the whole experience. Jamie Harris, who I got to meet and sit down with earlier in the year at Graham Parsons Dairy Down in Winter Haven, Florida, was playing with her partner, Mary Gaucher, the legendary Mary Gaucher. They opened for Jason, and it was Mary's first time playing the Ryman, which kind of blows my mind. And you could tell she was really grateful to be there. And Mary's she's done just about all you can do, So for her to be that kind of awestruck that she was there on that stage. And then the 400 unit just keeps getting better. I've said before, if you're new to the show, I'm a huge Jason Isbell and 400 unit fan. I always say that my favorite band, quote unquote, is the Drive-By Truckers Greater Universe. So that includes Jason and all of his projects. That includes all the Will Johnson stuff, Sadler Vaden solo stuff. That includes the Dexatines and on and on and on. But Jason Isbell and the 400 unit is, in my opinion, the best rock and roll band live out there. I love the Truckers, don't get me wrong, but in terms of like the live performance, it doesn't get any better than Jason Isbell and the 400 unit as a rock and roll band. And this night at the Mother Church, my second time being there, I saw Merry Christmas from the Family, the Robert Earl Keen production he used to do there back in 2016. And Keen, I got to see actually in December as well at Orange Blossom Review, which, yeah, I'm going to have to do a couple episodes of this because I saw so much great live music. And that was up there, that whole festival, which I've said quite a bit about, I guess, but still. Special night. Good friends, cool audience. The band was on fire. Jason Isbell in the 400 unit at the Ryman. Now, I'll give you one more on this episode, and then this is fun. I'll do some more. I'll give you one more, and that is probably the best show I've ever seen in my life. Bob Dylan at the Dr. Phillips Center here in Orlando. It was on March 9th. So at the end of 2023, my partner of 10 years left, and the beginning of 2024 was the hardest period of my life by exponents. January and February, I intellectually knew I was going to get through it, but I didn't think I would. I felt like I wasn't going to. And I met this woman in February, into January, early February, who became a fast friend, but then ultimately we fell in love. And this was about 4 days or so before her birthday, and a couple days before we expressed our love for each other and began a relationship officially, but we were clearly together at this point. We were in love. We were still being patient with our relationship. I wasn't drinking at the time. I was trying to make sure that I was making good decisions about my mental health. Really turning a corner, I thought, emotionally. And I said to her, I was like, hey, listen, Bob Dylan's in town, and my buddy Patrick Hagerman, who's a wonderful songwriter. If you don't know Patrick's work, check it out. He told me, he's like, man, he had just seen Bob on this run. He's like, man, if you get a chance to see Bob on this run, like, make it happen. Make it happen. He's playing 2 nights at the Dr. Phillips Center. Go to one of those. So I reached out to what was clearly my girlfriend at the time, Savannah, that's her name. And I was like, hey, you got any interest in going? I'm going to go anyway, but do you want to go with me to go see Bob Dylan? And she's like, do I want to go see Bob Dylan? Yes, of course I want to go see Bob Dylan. And y'all, it was like we were the only 2 people us and the band were the only people in the world, is how it felt. We kind of had a seat to ourselves. There were people around us, but there was a space between me and the next people next to us, and there was no one sitting directly in front of it. Well, there were people sitting directly in front of us, but it's a very comfortable room, and no one was sitting on the other side of her, and we were just holding each other, and every once in a while turning to make out, which was fine because it wasn't like we were doing it in front of people. It's not the kind of thing I normally would do, that public display of affection. I think he played like well over 2 hours, and it flew by. I mean, it just a transcendent, magical show. The band was completely on point. He barely said a word. He just sang. He played mostly his newest record, which Patrick had warned me about. So I spent a lot of time with the new record to make sure I knew it, and it's fucking phenomenal. I say new. It's like 2022, I think it was released. Just a killer record. It may have been the most incredible show I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of shows. But to see such a legend and to be so deeply in love with this person, both of us enjoying the show equally. That week in my life, things didn't work out with her, unfortunately, for the reasons that things don't work out in relationships. But I'm forever grateful for her, and forever grateful for what we shared and that moment with Bob Dylan at the Dr. Phillips Center. All right, this is fun. I'm going to do more of these. That's 3 of them. If you're new to the show because of this, check out all of these other conversations that I mentioned. I've had Will Johnson, who I mentioned earlier on the show. I've had Sadler Vaden from the 400 Unit on the show. Jamie Harris, who I mentioned earlier. BJ Barham's been on there 3 times. If you're new to the show, check it out. We're doing big things. We got a lot going on, and in this new year, I have plans to do a ton of stuff with Marinade Media. Follow the Marinade on all your socials. Follow Marinade Media also on Instagram. Follow my other podcast, Life's Greatest Hits, with my dear friend Jordan Foley, who I mentioned earlier. Follow Jordan and his work at Jordan Foley in the Wheelhouse. Next time I do one of these, I'm going to talk about the Rolling Stones with Tyler Childers. Probably going to talk about Isbell at Bonnaroo, and maybe all of Bonnaroo, even though I've said quite a bit about it. It's worth revisiting. Other shows that come to mind that I want to talk about: Joe Pug at Tuffy's Music Box. I interviewed Joe also this past year. Jonathan and Abigail Payton with Rambler Kane. I had Jonathan on the show in 2024 as well. That was at Cafe 11 in St. Augustine. I could go on and on, y'all. Really grateful for the shows I get to see. I travel to go see. I'll have to do a thing about going to see Mike Cooley of the Drive-By Truckers in Little Rock, Arkansas. I road tripped to Cooley. It was awesome. Almost didn't make it for a lot of reasons that I'll discuss. So stay tuned. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.